Hey, Geekscape, a surprise! Your second Geekscape of the week. Yeah, welcome to Daddyhood, Jonathan. That means your schedule is never your own. This little thing, the size of a loaf of bread, uh, Ophelia, that's my daughter, pretty much runs our lives now. So we Geekscape when we can Geekscape, and I really hope you've been enjoying Geekscape. As I said before, like it's just the last what 2-3 weeks that we've started doing Geekscape again. We've had musical guests. Our good friend Dan Hernandez came and talked about Star Wars because he's got that Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy show running right now on Disney Plus. Have you checked it out yet? I hope you have. Dan's a great dude. It was great to hear him and his co-writer Benji talking about all the things they wanted to do in the Star Wars universe and how Disney kind of let them do it. But I wanted to talk mainly about some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem 2, but they weren't shaking out any secrets. Still, I think you should go back and listen to that episode. What else did we talk about? Oh yeah, we talked to Samba from Our Flag Means Death. Sadly, that show got canceled. I love that show. You know what else got canceled? And I just started getting into it. The Time Bandits stuff that I was talking about last episode. I loved that Time Bandit show, and it got canceled. So maybe I shouldn't love your shows. If you come on the Geekscape, tell me not to watch your show. I guess I'm bad luck. But it was good having Samba on talking about his movie Advanced Chemistry. Hopefully you've checked it out. Hopefully you got to the website. And then this last Geekscape, that was a lot of fun talking comics again and creating comics. So hopefully you took a look at the Ripple Effects Kickstarter and kind of took a look at the whole offer for that deluxe edition. And we're like, okay, cool. This is maybe a book that we want to support. I think it is. But we also have a new Kickstarter that's dropping right now. It only has 5 days left. And I've got the two creators of it right here on Geekscape coming up. That's Marc Bernardin and Tiffany Smith. Marc should have been on the show years ago. Tiffany, I think, and I have collaborated several times throughout the years, but Marc is somebody who I see through friends of friends, and many of them are involved in this Kickstarter. And every time I see Marc, I was like, we should get you on Geekscape. But this dummy right here, that'd be your host, Jonathan, just can't ever get it together. So I looked up in this brand new project they have called Deepest Darkest. It's an anthology, is in its last few days. And I saw Tiffany, and I said, Tiffany, listen, drop everything. We got to get you and Marc on Geekscape to promote this thing. And they've got a big weekend ahead of them. Not only is the Kickstarter in the last few days, we need you guys to help support it, but they've got this really cool auction happening at Scub and Villainy here in Los Angeles on Sunday. So there are going to be details of that. And just wait until you hear the rogues gallery of former Geekscape guests or Geekscape collaborators that are part of Deepest Darkest. So if you're a Geekscapist and you're thinking, I don't know, I'm kind of saving my money for LA Comic Con. Well, listen, you got 2 weeks to recoup the cash from your day job and spend it at LA Comic Con. But right now, during the last 5 days of their campaign, they're going to need it. And listen, the project is super cool. Wait until you hear the people that are involved. You probably heard of this project already. So we're going to talk about that. Last order of business. I talked about that. Check that off the box. Oh, yes. I'm on 4 Comic-Con panels, and now I think it's 5. The kaiju panel, giant robot panel that we talked about last episode, Chris Black, who's the showrunner of Monarch, very dear friend. He's been on the show. That's the Godzilla show on Apple. We kind of want him on that panel. He wasn't going to be on the panel. He got called to Australia to, I guess he's the showrunner. He has to put out some fires. But he kept texting me, Jonathan, I really want to be on the panel, but I don't think I can. He texted me yesterday, Jonathan, the schedule's been redone. I can be on the panel. So if you want to hear the showrunner of Monarch, the Godzilla show, is it the Legacy of Monsters on Apple? Be at our panel. That'll be fun. And then Zach from $2 Late Fee added me to, I don't know why, but he said, do you want to be on this Attack of the Killer Tomatoes panel with the creator of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and the current producer, both of which have been on Geekscape 2-3 years ago. So I'm familiar with them. And I'm telling you why. I'll tell you right now. This is why Zach had to be on the panel. My brother was going to be on it. My pro wrestling brother, but my brother has dates in Tampa that Friday. And there's a question about whether or not Paul's going to get back in LA in time to come to the LA Convention Center to be on the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes panel. I don't know why Paul was going to be on it any more than I was going to be on it. But I think Zach just didn't want to change the graphic too much. So he swapped one London brother in for the other. So I'll be on that panel, I guess. Zach's going to promote it, and I can promise you, because maybe you wanted to come and see my pro wrestling brother Paul, I'll put somebody through a table or hit him with a folding chair or something. It's the least I could do. All right. Sorry, I didn't want to disappoint the fans. Okay. Speaking of not disappointing the fans, let's get to our guests. Let me run the theme song. Thank you for being on Geekscape, movies, video games, comic books, all that stuff is what we talk about. And I love talking to storytellers. So I want to talk to the creators of Deepest Darkest and find out what this whole crazy multi-personality anthology horror thing is. All right. Let's Geekscape. All right, Geekscapists, I knew what I was missing. I got a lot of feedback for being on that Real Big Fish podcast. Yeah, 20 years later. I did a music video for Real Big Fish for a song called Don't Start a Band. I directed it years ago, 2005. And then my friend Gary Mastriano, who does a horror podcast here on the Geekscape Network, asked me to be on his Real Big Fish podcast to talk about directing that music video. He and his cohorts. It was great talking to them, going back to the years and talking about directing that video, which I guess is super popular because I got so much feedback for being on that podcast. People were like, I didn't know you directed that Real Big Fish music video. I was like, you don't even know. How well do we really know each other? I've only been doing this show for you guys for, well, pretty much since I directed that Real Big Fish video. Like, I started this whole thing in 2006. I directed that in 2005. Do we even know each other, Geekscapists? Like, what are we even building here? Well, we know it would be able to vote is how long we've been doing this. So let's keep building it. We've got two friends here, Marc Bernardin and Tiffany Smith. I need to check in. I had pronounced that correct, Mark, right?
It's been pronounced worse.
What's the worst? What's the worst, Mark?
Brandedin.
That's not even like that. Doesn't even. It's not even how it's spelled. I think I'm rushing the syllables, and I think I'm putting it like affect in different places. But like that Brenda Bedden isn't even a thing.
Right. You dropped an R as opposed to moving an R.
Okay, it's Bernardin.
Boom.
Yeah. You know what it is? I grew up in Texas.
Is that just a catch-all?
It's just a catch-all. Like anytime someone's like, "You're a little slow, ain't you, London?" and I'm like, I grew up in Texas. Sorry. I grew up in Texas, the place that politicians from Connecticut go to exploit people. Yeah. Or manufacturers.
Your newest excuses just say, I just had a baby.
Yeah, I do.
That corrects everything. You're like, I'm sorry, I just have a newborn.
I'm sorry. Did you not read the shirt? It says, no entiendo. All right. People see it. I get a lot of double takes with this shirt because it looks like a Nintendo logo, and they say, "Oh, cool Nintendo." What does that say? And I immediately say, "Racist." You don't speak Spanish. No, it says "No entiendo," but it looks like the Nintendo logo. I get a lot of compliments on that shirt, but it's also an advertisement for whatever comes out of my mouth and says, "Listen, like, proceed with caution in this conversation because I grew up in Texas." Mark, apologies for not having you on the show sooner, man. What is that?
Of all of the slights in the universe that you could have leveled upon me, it's the gentlest, I feel.
After butchering your last name. And Tiffany, Tiffany, we were almost co-hosts, but Jason Inman got between us.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is there's so many people who came in and out of doing the DC All Access DC Daily Days. It's been crazy.
And it was never me. But on the audition, this is the story of the audition. Have you heard the story of the audition?
I don't think so.
The audition to be your co-host on DC All Access, and mercifully, let's be, yeah, because clearly, in the beginning of DC All Access, Jason was the guy for the job. He's a DC guy. He loves DC. Me, I was Stan Lee's moderator. Like, I'm a Marvel guy. I'm a total Marvel dude. But I was trying to fake my way into the gig. And I remember going to the audition and like espousing this, espousing that. I left comic books that I'd written in the room, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I love comics." But like, please do not quiz me too hard on the DC stuff. And as my Marvel loving self was walking down the stairs and being like, "Okay, I think I felt good about that. I think I did good." I saw Jason sitting in the lobby and was like, "I don't feel good about this anymore." Jason had the exact same response because he's in the lobby going, "Come on, who's a good host and who knows more about DC than me?" And he saw me coming down the stairs, was like, "Damn it, Jonathan's got this." No. They could sense. The blood test showed them. They were like, "Oh, this idiot's tried to irradiate himself with a spider. Oh, he's a Marvel guy. Yeah, he can't be doing this." The blood test is what sold me out, but he got the gig. And that is how it happened.
I always joke that I practice superhero diplomacy because when I started hosting, the first stuff I did was for Marvel. I did the premieres and stuff for Marvel. And I've always read, I think it's always like, for me, it's always story, artist, author. It could be writer. It could be anywhere. I don't care which publishing house it's from. So I remember when it happened, I was like, and even when I was at DC, I was like, I still read Marvel. I still read, like, I read the indie stuff. I'm reading all of it. It's not just that I'm a DC person. Obviously, their family, and I've had such an incredible run with doing the shows and still going and doing the feature premieres and things and panels. But I'm always like, superhero diplomacy, man. Good story, and I'm there.
Yeah, I think that goes for stories, period. And I do remember you were hosting the red carpet of Batman Superman, and I was handling the fan online stuff. So you were throwing to me, and I was like, "Hey, who's got a question for Ben?" and that stuff. I just remembered that. So we did end up co-hosting in a sense. And Mark has written a ton of comics. You're a comics guy, and we actually overlapped a little bit with Lion Forge. I was writing Miami Vice while you did a little bit of Airwolf. Didn't you not, sir?
That is maybe the weirdest sentence that I've heard all day. It's like, hey man, I was writing Miami Vice, you were writing Airwolf. What day was it? What year was it? 1993? No.
Yeah, right. I kept trying to get them to do an all three crossover because they were also doing Knight Rider, and they got as far as a Knight Rider Airwolf. But I kept telling Carl and Dave, I'm like, guys, you gotta put like Crockett and Tubbs behind the wheel of some of those things. And they were like, yeah. And it just didn't.
We just don't like money. We just don't like how this money sounds in our bank accounts. So
I loved doing that stuff, and I love those guys so much. Look at the big shot producer who just jumped in the comments. That's Ralph Oppel popping in to say hi. Ralph has a brand new movie coming out. It's the documentary on Lost with our friend Taylor Morden. And who did he not get in that thing? I think the polar bear wasn't interviewed for the Lost documentary that they've been putting out, but that premiere is this weekend. And Ralph, I'm really proud of you and Taylor. I can't wait to see the movie. Sorry I can't make the premiere, but Ophelia is 7 weeks old, and it's just happened. All right, so talk to me about Deepest Dark. And I'm sorry, I'm probably going to interrupt by saying how damn good He-Man was. Master Universe Revelations.
First, I will say this: my son was born June 14th. Is his birthday. I then went to Comic-Con 7 weeks after he was born. I'm paying for it still, but I went. So like a lot of this, Ophelia, pump your brakes, buddy.
Well, Taylor said the truth is my parents are also in town. I got family in town, and
so they can watch the kid. That's
exactly. Exactly.
You know what? I wanted them to today. I was doing a lot of editing and prepping, talk to you guys, et cetera, and they were like, "How are things going over there?" And I was like, "Oh, she's screaming her head off." And they were like, "Cool." No offer to come on over to help. I was like, "What are you guys in town for? To feed me? I can feed myself. I'm a grown man. Maybe you didn't see me since last time, and I couldn't feed myself then, but now I can feed myself. And I need you guys to actually come over here and take care of the kids so I can do some work." Not happening. So it's just, it's amazing. She's great. She wore a Chewbacca shirt today, so I felt pretty good about that. Yeah. She's starting to learn. So yeah, guys,
Okay, deepest darkest.
deepest
Mhm.
darkest. What is this thing? It's insane. It's got so many personalities going on with it. It's an anthology, and some of our favorite Geekscape people are involved. Where did this come from? Which is this something you guys banded about together, or hey, I got an idea, and the other person kicked it back?
I
Tiffany,
mean,
take it away.
I feel not. I feel like it started because I did a short that Mark wrote and directed called Splinter 2 years ago. He did a Kickstarter for it that was he wanted to direct and a short that he wrote before he turned 50. And so when that all came to be, he was like, I want you to be in it. And I was like, F yes, I'm in. So we shot that and it was so much fun. We had such a great time on set. And Mark and I have known each other for a long time now because it kind of started through the hosting journalist phase into now where it's he's writing and directing and doing all these things. And now I'm more in the actor space along with hosting as well. So we've been on this journey for a while. And after Splinter, and we got to do festivals and everything, it was like, okay, what can we do next? What are we working on next? And so much of the conversations that I think happen and kick off creative projects are over brunch. Mostly our blurred brunches, but this was one that was just Mark and I having waffles, and we were talking about the character. And I joke because I think we shot my character dying in Splinter, and I remember being on set, and he was like, "Okay, like I swear in my mind, Mark was like, I can see you breathing, Tiffany." That's what I heard in my head. And oh my gosh, like he cut out my death scene because like I'm a bad dyer on camera,
Hold your breath for 20 minutes.
and
We
now
still got it.
I just tell myself that I'm like, it wasn't a use. Like, why do you need to see that the other pilot died? It's not useful for the story. So anyway, we decided that my character was still alive. And then it turned into what could we do with her? What could we do in that world? And Mark and I came up with this idea for Deepest Darkest. And what is one of the coolest qualities? Mark has many great qualities, but one of the amazing ones is how quickly he moves on things. If he has an idea, it's going to be like you either have to jump on the train or it's going to go without you. And
Yeah.
this is definitely one of those projects where we started coming up with ideas, and then the next thing I know, he's like, so we're gonna have lunch, and I'm gonna bring in all these other writers that I think we're gonna have them actually write the shorts that create this anthology feature. And it was like, I feel like it was like it feels like it was 2 weeks later, but I think it was a little bit longer than that. But it just felt like everything was moving so quickly, and it's been amazing because everybody that we talked to about it was super on board. And you know, I think the biggest thing for me with this project is that it's a bunch of diverse creators that want to work in the geek space with genre and horror and sci-fi, and you wait for the industry to open the door for you a lot of times, and then sometimes it's just like, especially after the strike and the pandemic, it was just like, let's just do it ourselves, let's make this happen on our own. And so now I've talked a lot, so Mark, you jump in.
um, yeah, and it was a lot of people again that we already knew. I think that the discovery of at least my big discovery on Splinter was how much fun it was to make things with your friends. And how can we make more things with our friends? And how can we invite more friends to come in and play with us? And so we are lucky enough to know a bunch of incredibly talented professional TV writers, but none of them had directed before. And so the pitch was, hey, we'll do this like it's a baby TV show where like I'll be the showrunner and you can all be like writer directors and I'll read all the scripts, I'll make tiny notes, make sure they're all in line, but then you can show up and direct your short, and we'll have a crew waiting for you and a director of photography and we'll just take care of you as you do this thing you've never done before. And they were like, bet, let's go. Who's going to be in it? And everybody kind of knew a person. Everybody showed up with their short and had an idea who they wanted to work with. And for the most part, we got everybody we wanted, in ways that were circuitous and like this long and winding road, but like Ernie Hudson and Rosario Dawson and Raymond Lee and Phil Lamar and a couple of
Raul
directors
Coley.
and Raul Coley. A
Yeah.
couple of directors are their own like leading people. So Kevin Avery and Sujata Day are starring in their own chapters. But you
Oh,
know,
Kevin's in his own. I was just Kevin was
yeah,
on Facebook promoting the Kickstarter, and I was like, "They're going to be on the show today." Kevin, how are you?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's
he's in
great.
his own. And so it's this incredible friggin' murders row of talented people who are stretching a little bit, a little bit outside their comfort zones. But that's when kind of the best stuff happens. And so yeah, and we're incredibly excited about kind of where we are, a little bit on edge from the Kickstarter,
Yeah.
um, because we have a long way to go and not a long time to get there.
Yep.
So it's like now it's all hands on deck. Now it's, not quite crisis on Infinite Earths, but it's a crisis on one Earth, and then spread.
And Geekscape is what I want you to do. Geekscape is go to Kickstarter and search for Deepest Darkest and see this anthology project. And honestly, Geekscape is. I was gonna say like Mark, this Tiffany, this is a film, right? But I think that with the shorts, it can really kind of turn into a few different things, and it really depends on Geekscape. Is your support, your enthusiasm, what you can do to get them across the finish line. And like they said, like Phil Lamar, he was in the film I directed, Chasing Fletcher Allen. That's one that you Geekscape has helped put together through crowdfunding, and Phil was the lead with Heidi and Sujata Day. I saw her most recently at Derek Hughes. He had a party after the strike ended, and that's where I saw a few people, including Phil and Raymond Lee. You guys know Derek Hughes. He and his co-writer were both on Quantum Leap, and that show shouldn't have been canceled. I shouldn't have watched that show. I mean, that's the death knell right there. Is if Jonathan clicks onto it. But I really thought that new Quantum Leap was awesome. But Raymond Lee, you want to see more of him? He is in this project along with his co-star Caitlin Bassett. So these are some heavy hitters. I mean, you had me at Ernie Hudson. Let's be clear. That dude is amazing. So when I saw this rolled out, honestly, Tiffany, honestly, I sent you a message because when this first started up on you and Mark's socials, I was like, oh, this is out of the park. This is automatic. I don't know what it is about the climate Geekscapists that Mark and Tiffany have to stoop to coming on Geekscape to ask for your support. But they're here. They're willing to do it. So you need to come. You need to help them because this thing has like he said, it has a ways to go, and not a long time. Not a long time to do it. So let's try and get this thing going. And honestly, Geekscape is just to be clear. Like Tiffany and Mark said, how many times does the industry actually give this chance? Right. Speaking as someone like a Latino knocking on doors myself, how many times do we get this chance, right, guys? Like that, you will read headlines that X, group it makes up X amount of audiences, but Hollywood still ignores them, or Hollywood loses X millions, billions of dollars by ignoring that group. You'll hear we're trying to improve diversity. Oh, you'll hear this stuff. Smoke and mirrors. They want to make Deadpool 7. They want to make Deadpool 5, and I love Deadpool. I love that stuff. But the truth is, if you want to get some new stuff on top of your Deadpool, we're not taking your Deadpool away. We're never taking your Deadpool away. She's over here. She's a superhero agnostic over here, Tiffany Smith. We're not taking it away. She wants Blank Man to come back. I want Blank Man to come back. Don't play. Blank Man Ghost Dad crossover. Think about it. Anyway, we've got that's so stupid, Jonathan. Why do you talk? Anyway, this is a chance, Geekscape is, for you to help creators who get the doors in their faces, right? And you may see them in this Kickstarter and be like, oh, but they're well known. They act in these shows. They write on these shows. Yeah, but everybody wants to direct. Everybody wants their story told. And instead of going out and trying to get hired, which they will, they're going to go out and get hired. There's a chance for them to shine their unique light. And who knows what grows from that, right? Because when a creator sometimes gets to tell their own story, a new universe starts, right? You don't have Cloverfield if like J.J. Abrams doesn't come out and be like, let's try our own kind of Godzilla thing. And then it turns into a bit of a franchise. Does that make sense, Geekscapists? Otherwise, it's J.J. Abrams making movies for other people, like another Mission Impossible or another Star Wars and stuff like that. We love that stuff. But you would have been without Cloverfield if that's all we were stuck to, is kind of the long point that I'm trying to make. Does that make sense, guys?
Well, and I think like the really cool thing about this project also is that we all started becoming friends because we were fans of genre, like, and we happen to be brown people in the industry as well. And then it's also, wait, you're incredible, you're insanely talented. No, you're insanely talented. Oh my gosh, this person's doing this. And so, like Mark said, it's always been the goal and the dream for me is to get to make stuff with people that I'm friends with that are also insanely talented. And like this pool of people, it's the amount of talent in here. Like there's moments where I think about it and I'm like, I was so focused on like, let's get the script done, let's get to that point, that now we're getting to the place where it's like, okay, we need to cross this finish line for the Kickstarter. And then I'm like, oh shit, that means I have to do all these shorts now with all of these people.
Yeah, you wrote yourself as like you're the glue in all these shorts, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of like,
Yeah.
and I don't want to throw it back, but you know how Madam Web sees the whole Spider-Verse, Geekscapist? She's the interconnectedness of the Spider-Verse. Does that make sense, Mark? No, the one from the comics, not the one from the movie. No, Geekscapist.
I was about to say that
The
was
one from the comics.
that was a hell of a pull.
But you get it, right, Mark? You know where I'm going with this. She sees all the different realities, and she sees all the stories and how they intertwine, right? Tiffany's character in this Geekscapist is somebody who collects, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the secrets in these stories are those deepest, darkest secrets, correct?
So the premise for this, and I basically say it's like, I say Black Mirror and Twilight Zone, and Mark says Get Out and Black Mirror-ish. That's the vibe of these.
And an idiot like me says Madam Web.
Exactly. But the character Tara has suffered a brain injury in the plane crash that happened in Splinter, and so she can only remember things for about 10-minute increments. So her and her brother turned this into basically her newest career. It's like blacklisted, tell your deepest, darkest secrets, and you can get it off your chest, and she won't remember. So it's like you can alleviate this thing off of your chest that are dark, crazy, interesting, whether it's horror, like we said, we go through a bunch of different genres with all the shorts, tell her these things, and then we kind of see where they all go. And the most incredible part about it for me was that, you know, initially I was like, okay, so it's just going to be kind of like me sitting down and like hearing people tell me these incredible monologues of stuff. And then when we started getting the scripts in, it was like, oh my, like, just, it's where you realize, you know, your friends are talented, but then when you talk about something and then you read something that came from their brain over a conversation, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like most of the time my family's really excited about the things that I do. But I've definitely gotten the many, many texts from my sister being like, I cannot wait for this. Or my friends being like, I can't wait to see this movie. And the thing I like, this is where I'm like, yes, please give us money. I want everyone to see this movie. I want us to make it, but we don't do that if we don't reach the 250 on our Kickstarter. So we're like, and I know it's such a weird time to ask people for money after all the things that we've been through in the period that we're in and stuff. But I'm like, even if it's sharing the link with your friends or showing up to our fundraiser on Sunday, just talking about it to people, because you just never know how someone knows someone who knows someone who's like, hey, I'm going to kick in this. And then it opens the door for the rest of the money to start flowing in. So I'm really optimistic. I think you guys both know this about me, but I'm super optimistic always. And I'm very optimistic that we're going to reach the goal, because I want to make this movie for myself and for everybody.
Yeah. And were there any parts, Mark and Tiff, where you guys are guiding I mean, everybody kind of got autonomy on their own story. Were there anybody hand anything in, but they maybe had overlapping themes that maybe they had to maybe choose one or the other, or massage them away from each other, or have them actually, the characters maybe interact between the shorts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my job was I wrote
You're the
three.
showrunner, kind
I'm the
of, in this
showrunner.
anthology.
Yeah.
I wrote 3 of the 8 chapters. I'm directing 2 of them. But it was also to kind of, it was to enforce a certain amount of cohesiveness to it all. The interpretation of Tara and what she can do and what she can't do, and how her character both has to stay the same but also gets to evolve over time, and making sure that, like, all right, this one is a little bit too much this one is a little bit too much that. Can we shave this from this one? Can we add this to that one? Just trying to get the fuel air mixture right, so that each one of them felt like their own story, but still kept building as we went, so that by the time you get to the end, we actually had 8 chapters that cohesed. Is that a word? Cohesive,
Coalesce?
together,
Yeah.
coalesce. That's a better one. Into a story that makes sense, into a
Sure.
story that has moves, so that it's
So it
not
is a
just
film.
so it's a film and not just 8 shorts kind of stitched together by credits. And so that was the job, and I think it works. I will say this at any stage of anything that I end up doing. I hope it works. I hope it
Yeah.
worked. Did it work for you? I think it works, but I'm not sure. Did it work for you? Because every viewer is different, every audience is different. I'm always curious and concerned that what I think works doesn't, but I always have confidence. I'm always like, I think this works. I think this, yeah, I think we got it. We got it. We got it. Um, and then I'll just second guess myself until the grave. But
Well, and I
Well,
think
yeah.
it's with this project, like some of the fun stuff is like I can't wait for us to do a table read with all of the shorts all melded together, because obviously it's like you hear shorts anthology. There is, I like to look at it as it's a TV season condensed, because there is an overarching story over the whole thing. So they all do feel connected, even though some of them you could pull out and just watch it as a short. But there is an overarching story, so it is a full cohesive. What did you say? What Mark's made up word about cohesion?
it's
A,
cohesive.
a cohesionary. There's
A
a,
cohesion. It's a cohesionary anthology film.
There you go.
But I can't wait
I'm
for when
messing you up.
we get to read them together and just have those pieces fit together. And those are things where it's like we all get really excited about it, and those are rewards that we have on the Kickstarter, where it's like you can do a reward on the Kickstarter to get to see the table read. Obviously, it'll be after the Kickstarter's done, the movie comes out and stuff. But that kind of stuff is being somebody who loves film, along with loving to be a part of these projects. There's just really cool stuff that, I'm still learning along the way of us doing this, and getting to be with all these incredibly talented people who have such different like experiences in the industry. It's helping me to grow in so many more ways than just as an actor, which I love.
What I think is really brave about this stuff, and also really scary, and I think we touched on that sort of barometer that you have to have as a filmmaker, where you're like, I have to jump and see if I can fly. And it's a certain point, everybody as a storyteller has to just jump and see if the audience is going to help them fly. At any point, Mark, you could have just said, I have an idea for these, and it's really inspired. And Tiffany, we've worked together on a TV series before. Why don't we expand this and ask permission from the industry to turn this into a deepest, darkest TV show, TV series? And then I can actually be showrunner, and Tiffany can be in a TV show, and we can do this expanded. But that is asking permission. Again, that is giving up your, autonomy and the ability to craft the story you want to tell to something that has a bigger corporate, and it also puts you in the mercy of cancellation, not being able to finish the story, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's huge that you guys are going for this thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, and also to be fair, there's a version of this that is also a TV show after it's a
And we'll
feature.
get to that after we make this successful.
Right.
Yeah.
But this
And
is part of the taste making.
this is the like, can we do this ourselves? Can we just knit this together and amass our resources and like form a band? It's like, hey, remember when you were a kid and if you could play guitar and that guy had a bass and somebody can find some drums and we can all just learn three chords and make a album together, or just play on a stage and let people boo at us and throw beer bottles. Isn't that great? So this is like, it's punk filmmaking. It's like, let's form a band. Like, we're all kind of good at things. We all bring different speeds to stuff. Wouldn't it be great if we could all just do this together? Hey, Ophelia.
Hi.
Heidi just snuck through with
Hi,
Ophelia.
Heidi.
Tiffany says hello. Tiffany was on Heidi's panel last LA Comic Con for
Yep.
you guys did a table read, a gender reversal of
Yeah.
Batman and the Animated Series. That was a lot
Yeah.
of fun to listen
I mean,
to. Mad love.
and like to speak to like, so Heidi and I are, because we're part of this other group called We Write at Dawn, and that I think there is like an energy right now in the industry that so much of it is we're not waiting for permission, we're just making our own stuff. And so started on that, and then working on this stuff here, where it's like it's incredible just to see how many creatives that I know now that are so insanely talented that are like, we're not waiting, we want to do this ourselves, how can we do it ourselves? And like for Deepest Darkest, is there a conversation 100% that could this be a TV series, that we take these little vignettes and shorts that are part of the film and turn that into like blow them up into bigger episodes? Absolutely. I mean, there's certain things where it's like I have had people be like, so how does the sequel work? And it's like, well, we have ideas. Like it's not, this is not a like, this is not a, this is the end kind of thing, but it feels a lot like a calling card, where I think there's something to be said about where people in the industry now so many times want to see a short or want to see something or want to know that you can do a thing. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to do that thing. It's going to be successful. And then it feels better when they come to you after you've made something. Because I think it allows us to be able to stay as creative and in control as on the project as we possibly can. Because, I think it's the more cooks in the kitchen, the more ideas people have, and then sometimes things get watered down into something that it wasn't meant to be at the beginning. Because I'm like, I know like a huge part of this for me is I've been acting in the industry for a while, and so many times it's like I'm not on some of those lists where it would be she's the lead of this series. But we came up with this idea, and my friends believe in my talent and have seen me work and know that I can do it. And so it's like, okay, well, there's no question of like, well, let's put this A-list person in instead of Tiffany in this situation.
Yeah.
For any of the roles for that matter, where it's like, it wasn't a conversation of let's put this person in because they're gonna move the needle or they make earn this much money at this level. And obviously those are some of the conversations we've had to some degree, but it wasn't what caused us to choose the people for each role. And I think that just freed us up so much to get to work with the people that we just want to work with, who again, some of them are those heavy hitters that do move the needle a lot. But that wasn't like the 100% reason why we got to do it. So I feel really excited and lucky that, this is the opportunity that we all made for ourselves. And I'm fully aware that it's a huge opportunity for me, just like it is for everybody that's involved in it.
In Geekscape is you may not like Tiffany said, if this goes anywhere else, if anybody else is writing the check on this thing beyond you, Geekscape is beyond the people listening to this and supporting. Tiffany maybe gets swapped out, right? So you maybe see somebody else like our friend Phil, who's been on Geekscape so many times throughout the years, and he didn't want to get paid when I put him in Chasing Fletcher Allen. And honestly, like I texted him and said, "Hey, I want you to take a look at this project Heidi and I are doing." And between the time I texted him and was going to follow up, we ran into each other at Jersey Mike's, and I was just in line, and he happened to be next
Run
to me,
into
and
a lot of people in
yeah,
line.
and I said, Phil, did you go? You didn't respond to my text, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. What was it about?" And I said, I sent you a script. Wanted to know if you do it, and he's like, well, let's just sit down and talk. And by the end of our sandwiches, it was like, well, when are we doing this? And then Phil was so generous, and it's like I had the same experience with Doug Jones, with Doug Jones, where I'm like nervous to give direction. You know what I mean? Like sometimes with an actor, you're like, I'm nervous to give direction, and I'm trying to pick my spot if they need direction. But ultimately, if I come out with direction first, I may cut off the whatever they're trying to channel. And I don't like directors that come out. I like directors to come out and say, throw me your ideas, and then they run through it. Maybe they have their own blocking, this and that, whatever they want to do, and then you come in and say, okay, let's see how it'll work in these ways that you shouldn't be thinking about camera blocking. Like, let's see how we can get you there organically. And with Phil and Doug and people like that, I was just like, oh, you guys are, I'm learning. I'm scared to open my mouth because I'm learning at the moment. I love you guys, and you guys have been so generous with me. What I wanted to say, Geekscape, is goes back to what I said earlier. You're not going to get another Blurred movie of this like concentration. Having all these people who love each other work together and finish each other's sentences. You're not going to get that on the other side of the street with the studios. You're not going to get that on the other side of the street financing some other way. You're going to get that here. And you guys are a unique community of friends, collaborators who respect each other. And we want to see how you jam together and what you guys make. And this is the opportunity to do that. Mark is going back to his old stomping grounds this Sunday of Scum and Villainy, where you and Kevin used to record your show.
I know I am a degenerate, so I will always feel the call of the bar to me. Kevin and I may go back there, and like it's been hard finding time with Kevin to go back and do live shows because he's bi-coastal with a movie theater in New Jersey and life here, and he's been on tour with the movie, and it's been a scheduling nightmare. But I don't feel like that chapter is entirely over, so I'm hoping that come this fall we'll get some more time back behind the bar. But yes, Tiffany and I and many members of our cast and crew will be at Scum and Villainy on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California on Sunday between 3 and 6 p.m. Both as a like, come and hang out. It's just freaking happy hour on a Sunday. Like, you don't like football? Who likes football? Come and just hang out in a nerd bar with us. And it's a fundraiser for the Kickstarter. So all the ticket proceeds go right into the Kickstarter. We'll be selling signed comic books and autographs and what have you. And then in addition to that, we have this very awesome memorabilia auction. Um, which is stuff that we've all kind of gathered over years of both working in the business, being fans of the business, of meeting people and getting access to things that your average nerd just doesn't have a chance to get access to. Some of the big ticket items are some signed movie posters from casts of films like Shazam and Justice League and Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a 36-hour Marvel film marathon that led up to Infinity War. So I sat in the El Capitan Theater for 36 hours and watched everything from Iron Man 1 all the way until Endgame. I think they dropped out like Thor 2 because nobody really needed Thor 2.
That's the one. The
That's
one
the
with
one.
Doctor Who.
That's the one.
Doctor Who is a bad guy.
And
I have a soft spot for him.
There's a raffle in that screening. I have never won a raffle before in my entire life. Ever. Ever. And I've taken part in like 6. So like literally it's never happened to me. But the raffle was, and of course, between every movie, they had like members of the Avengers who were in town for the movie premiere to just come out and like stoke the fans' interest. So like Michael Rooker is there, and Clark Gregg is there, and Sebastian Stan is there, and Winston Duke was there, and Chadwick Boseman was there, and they all signed this Marvel 10th anniversary poster and raffled it off at the end of the night. I won this raffle. So I've had this Marvel 10th anniversary poster in my house for the last, whatever it was, 6 or 7 years. I had given it to my son, who turns out didn't care about it very much.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it ended up like in his closet somewhere, like rolled up poorly. I reclaimed it from him, and I'm like, dude, do you know what this is? He's like, I don't care. So now I have it back, and I'm auctioning that off with like the late Chadwick Boseman signature on it, and Winston Duke, and all those people are on this poster. Anthony Russo's name is on this poster. And so we got that. We have this amazing thing that literally just happened last night, where Ben Robb, who's one of our filmmakers, used to be an intern at Marvel Comics back in the 90s. And he was in the special projects division, and they were the ones who would just do all of the merch out of stuff that was in Marvel Comics. And he texts me, he's like, hey, so I found this photo stat of a Jim Lee splash page from like X-Men 292 or whatever it was of Magneto. It's a very high quality photocopy that they then used to make posters out of.
Sure.
It's on this like 22 by 31 like press board. Do you want it? Hey, maybe Jim would sign it. So I text Jim Lee because whatever.
As one does.
As one does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey Jim, are you around? I have this thing. Would you sign it? We'll auction it off. He's like, I'm leaving for Baltimore at 6:30 in the morning. I said, so I guess I'm coming to your house tonight. So I'm coming to your house tonight. I bring this thing over. I'm like, hey, would you mind signing? It's like, I'm going to do a little sketch for you. And so he just sits there for like 20 minutes and draws another Magneto head on top of this Magneto thing. And it's gorgeous because it's friggin'
Jim Lee. Yeah.
And it's magic because I don't know if you've ever watched a very good artist draw, but like suddenly there's a thing there.
It's mesmerizing.
And now it's a thing. And I was also looking at it from the side. So like I didn't quite get everything he was doing. And then he turns it right. So I'm like, oh shit, like it's right there, you guys.
And
So
is there a better one than Jim Lee? Is there? I mean, I'm a big Silvestri fan, but he was my X-Men entry when he was doing the Inferno stuff. But I mean, Jim, nothing dipped. Jim is
he's a master and the sweetest guy in the world. And so like he's like, yeah, no, take it, auction it. Hope you get some good money for it. Thanks, Jim.
I'm off to Baltimore. Here we go. So. Yeah, Geekscape is in LA. You got to be here. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, if you're in LA, Geekscape is, you don't want to miss Scum and Villainy 3 to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Sorry, Tiffany, go ahead.
No, the link for the event is in our bios on Instagram, social media. Make sure you check it out. But I was going to say, that's been one of the coolest things too about this project is the support that we've seen from industry folks like Jim, where it's like, sometimes you're doing a Kickstarter and you have to like text your friends to be like, hey, do you mind posting about this? Do you mind sharing about this? But Jim is one of those people that like, I just woke up one morning and he had posted and shared about it all on his own, like took one of our posts and was like, I'm going to go do this thing. And like, that's when it feels amazing because it's people in the industry who are doing things at all different levels, but who see the thing we're doing and know how talented and amazing everyone is. And that it's such a good group of humans. And so to see those people show up for us has been so cool and so like super encouraging. So like I said, even if it's someone sharing something on social or someone like Jim Lee who can do an amazing drawing in 15 minutes that's like the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life. Having that support throughout this whole process has been so freaking cool.
Let's have the comic book. When's the Deepest Darkest Jim Lee cover? The comic, when's that? What tier do we get to for the Deepest Darkest comic book one shot with Jim Lee
Yeah,
cover?
yeah. I
When's
think
that happen?
we have to invent that tier. I'll do it
Yeah.
tonight.
Your story about the Avengers marathon reminded me of when I went to see Endgame, and going back to the Knight Rider days of Lion Forge, I'm walking down the aisle at the row after the end credit scene and this and that. Everybody's like, "Okay, anything else? Anything else? You got to check Geekscape is. You got to check now on the movies." And holding a backpack, I think it was a Captain America shield backpack, is Jeffrey Thorne, and he just has this smile on his face, like he was 7 years old. And Jeff was writing that Knight Rider book for as well over Lion Forge, and that's how I met Jeff. And Jeff is another really wonderful TV writer,
Yeah.
and he's just at the end of the aisle, and I didn't want to disturb him, but I had to pee, and I'm sitting there like, oh my god, I can't destroy his happiness. I'm just gonna give it another minute. He was so happy.
I feel as if we were all, especially during the pandemic lockdowns, I'm sure the traffic spike on the audience reactions to things in the last 40 minutes of Endgame was through the roof. Just the idea
Yeah.
of like, look at all these people in a room together. Will we ever see this again? And they're all enjoying each other and they're all like thrilled by what we're seeing. It was the I need to feel something. End game finale. Cap picks up hammer like, on your left, like feelings. And so yes, Jeff is a leading proponent in the I have all the feelings about all the things all the time.
He's a good dude. And Geekscape is the pandemic. It changed our industry. It absolutely changed our industry. And if we can make bright spots out of something like a global pandemic and what we've experienced as a strike here and multiple strikes here in Los Angeles, it's that creators like Mark, like Tiffany, and you're getting a comic book out of me as well. Geekscape has been, and it only happens because we sat for a bit and we were like, enough is enough. Let's take the keys and let's run with it. I don't think you run with keys. So you drive. Let's drive. Let's drive. Barbara Dillon says, very excited about this anthology. We'll be sure to include it in our next update for the Ripple Effects Kickstarter. That Kickstarter is also going along. And Barbara, throw that update out fast because they got 5 days left on this thing. And Barbara, your newsletter is so good. It makes me not want to do a newsletter when it hits my inbox. I'm like, oh, that's what it should look like. It looks amazing. I love Barbara and Brian Dillon. They're such good friends, and Ophelia loves you too, because a lot of the stuff that was your daughter's is now my daughter's. So I appreciate that. I love how everybody's coming together for this. All right, Geekscapers, you have your mission. You're going to go and search out Mark. His social media is Marc Bernardin. It's right there. Tiffany is Tiffany_Smith. And when you go and follow those people on whatever social media platform you have, you're going to click on their profile, and that'll have a link to this Kickstarter, Deepest Darkest.
I tried to put it in the chat, but it won't let me.
I hate this. It's hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. No, I actually love being with you guys, and I love Geekscape, and I love you guys for joining me. This was awesome, and thanks to Tiffany for pivoting last minute. It was like, Tiff, come on Geekscape. I'm not scheduled to have a Geekscape till next week, but it'll be too late. So come on Geekscape now, and let's see what we can do. Craig Robinson says, Mark, would you do something akin to the Plague Nerdalogs to raise more funds for this amazing project? Loved that series.
No, thank you, Craig. That was again things born of a pandemic. Was the Plague Nerdalogs, where we just got actors who weren't acting to do renditions of their favorite nerd monologues. I'd love to. The problem becomes a lot of those actors are now working, and B, time is of the essence, and the time to marshal the forces to put something like that together is not on our side. But hey, we might need to raise some money for finishing costs, so I'll keep that in my hip pocket. Yo.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I remember when that happened. It was so cool because I remember getting a text from Mark being like, "Hey, we're doing this thing. Do you want to pick a monologue and do it?" And I was like, "Sure," because every actor that I knew, it's like we're all home. It's got to be something genre-y. And I did something from The Matrix. I was like, can I switch genders? Can I do whatever I want? And he was like, yeah. And then it was just so cool to see all of these people where, again, it's like, as much as I hate going through difficult times where you can't do things the normal way or the way that everyone's used to doing them, it was so cool to see all of these people showing up who wanted to just create, because at all of our cores, we're just creatives who want to make stuff and put it out there and have it seen for people to enjoy, or seen for people for then Mark to go up and be like, did it work?
Do we raise any money? Did we do anything?
Yeah.
And it is also, it was this incredibly instructive moment where you realize, A, how much of a nerd most of the people that you love on TV and movies is, and B, how much those people will still kind of ride out for what they see as a good cause. And like, to get Lin-Manuel Miranda to like give us a monologue, you know, he's like, hey, can I do a Dama from Battlestar Galactica? I says, Lin, you can do whatever you want. And then to get it like 6 hours later, he's like, is this too sappy? Is this too like Lonely Girl 15? Like,
it's like, dude, you could do Boxy from Battlestar Galactica if you wanted to. Yeah. Isn't that the little bear thing
pretty much
from the old school? Like, you can do whatever you want.
Just,
all right, Lin.
Good one, Buck. That's all I need from you.
Boop, pop. He's doing a series of beeps. It worked. Cassio Bloke in the UK says, evening from the UK. Looking forward to seeing you on Fatman Beyond later. Well, yeah, let's get you to that. And Geekscapists, thank you for joining us. Mark, Tiffany, thank you. You know how to thank them, Geekscapists. I told you, you got to go to their socials, get that link to Deepest Darkest, throw some of the green their way, and help this thing get across the finish line. I think that'd go a long way, I think.
Yeah.
And come see us Sunday if you're in LA.
Get a flight to LA.
Yeah.
Come see them.
Don't get a flight to LA. If you're
take the money you would pay for the flight, put it in the Kickstarter. Bring LA to you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Unless you're like independently wealthy, in which case, whatever. Like,
just pay for the series.
Do it all.
Yeah.
Pay for the series, Mr. Wayne.
Yeah.
Because you're clearly not using it to clean up your freaking city or fix that hospital.
Like, all I can promise you, if you're a rich person who comes to the Kickstarter event, is like second base. I'll promise you second base. That's all that's the most I can offer.
It depends on the generation you're in as to what second base entails.
I don't know what's happening right now.
You know,
I promise none of that.
It's like no, you don't have to partake, Tiff. But
I promised it.
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
and maybe Derek.
Derek Hughes, yeah. I love
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes, great guy. I love how you're writing checks for Mr. Hughes, for other people to write checks for you and Mr. Hughes. But if you know, put it on the back card. Expiry forever. That is a reference to the other podcast. All right, Geekscapists. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And Barbara Dillon, who's the nicest person ever, has your back, Tiff. She threw it in the comments right there. Kickstarter.com/projects.
I tried to do the Eventbrite tickets link too, and it won't let me. It's like, this comment has failed to post. Probably thinks I'm putting spam in there.
Tiffany. Yeah, that's what you get for being on the dark web and having your IP tracked. That's what you get.
They don't call me the Smith Lord for nothing.
Are we even safe here? Geekscapists, you'll hear us. You know what? This is your episode for the coming week. It's to get a little bit early. My parents are in town, so I'm not playing. All right. And then I think we'll have one more episode before LA Comic Con. I'll see you both there.
I will not
be. Tiffany will be flying the flag for both of us.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll be there Saturday. I'm on 2 panels. One for Geeks Take Center Stage, so it's about sci-fi and genre and theater. And then the other panel I'm on is for a short that I'm in called Scalped. It's a comedy horror film where I get to play like a Sabrina Carpenter, Britney Spears-ish pop star. It's really, really fun.
That's cool.
Saturday. Yeah.
You want to replace me on an Attack of the Killer? I don't know why I said I like that, but I haven't seen it in 30 years.
I'm doing 2 panels already. I can't do anything else.
I know. And I if it wasn't you, Zach, asking me to be on that panel, which runs right after one of my other panels, and I'm going to be running down a hallway for you, I wouldn't have done it. But I love you, Zach. $2 late fee, one of our Geekscape podcasts here. They all talk 80s all the time, and they have a event going on right now, a fundraiser as well. But that's enough. Get out of here, guys. Go do some good, and let's raise some more money. Okay, Geekscapists, we'll see you on the next one. Subscribe to the feed, share it with your friends, all that. There's plenty of Geekscape coming. All right, peace. Don't hate, create. Bye.